Hey guys, Ike here from Mike'sOutdoors.com. I bet you're wondering what I'm doing out here in the middle of the night, why I have on one rubber glove. It's because I'm going to show you guys how I slow roast, slow cook wild hog meat. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show you guys is how I set up my grill. I am not a grill master. I am not Aaron Franklin or Stephen Reichland or anything like that. I've got too much time to be setting out, and I want to get some sleep, so I've got too much time to be setting out and watching a fire all night. So what I have is an electric grill. So what I've got here is this is just a backyard grill that I bought at Walmart, and I actually modified it a little bit and put an electric burner in here. So I got an electric burner in the backside, and I'll come out a couple times at night and then in the morning and I'll put more wood in it. But that's basically it. Is that right there is how my grill is set up. I do occasionally take that out and build fires in here to sear steaks and things like that. But when I'm slow cooking, this is how I've got it set up. I've got an electric grate or an electric grill on this side that will get this thing up to about 250 to 275 degrees, and I put in just pieces of wood randomly over the night and throughout the day in the morning. This cook is going to take about 12 to 16 hours, so I use quite a bit less wood this way. So what I've got here, the wood I've got here is post oak, or what we call around here red oak, and this is what I prefer. I've got some white oak, and I've got some pecan and some fruit trees and stuff like this, but I like this red oak because it gives it a good smoky flavor without overpowering. You can still taste the meat, but it also gives it a really good smoky flavor as well. So it is my preferred meat. So I've got it set up on this side, and what I'll do is I'll end up setting my grill in here, and I'll set my meat on this side away from the direct heat. My vent is also on this side of the grill, so the smoke will have to roll around in there a little bit and get to that meat before it actually exits out the top. So let's show you what I've got on the meat over here. Okay, so you got to pardon the fancy table that I've got going here, and this is where it'll come in why I've got one glove on and one not. This is my pork hand. You only want one hand to be your pork hand. This is my clean hand, and this is my not clean hand. As you can tell, I picked up the grate and done, cleaned the grate and done stuff like that. This one is the only hand that I'll touch the meat with. This keeps the meat nice and clean, and it also keeps my hand nice and clean. And that's the reason why I've done this over here, is because the picnic table over there has ants on it. So I'm trying to keep the meat as clean as I possibly can. And what I've got back here is I've got my secret rub, and I'm going to give you guys my secret rub. I use this on just about everything. This is what I prefer. This is half salt and half pepper. For this, I used about a half a cup of each, so quite a bit. I'm really going to use quite a bit on this meat. Pork is flavorless. Pork just doesn't have a lot of flavor to it. And this is from Wild Hog. This is from the hog that my son actually harvested. What I've done to it to prep it so far is basically when we got the hog down, it was skinned and quartered. We cleaned it really good, went through and just trimmed off any undesirable fat, anything that, like back here was just a really thick section of fat that was just really thick and probably wasn't going to render down, and just really cleaned this up the best I can to get it ready to cook. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this thing over on my cutting board. I've done the same thing back here. Now you can see this is bone in. Here's the bone, and this is the back ham of the hog. So this is bone in. Here's the back. This might be a front shoulder. I'm not sure what this is now. This may be a front shoulder. So we got the shank. We got this is where most of the meat's going to come from, and then there's going to be a little bit on the bone itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick up a handful of this salt and pepper, and I'm just going to spread it all over this thing. And I'm going to use the hand I have here with the glove on, and I'm going to use that to really get it in there. I'm not really going to, this is called a rub, I'm not really going to rub it in too much, but I'm going to make sure that all of the meat has a nice even coating of this on here, and I'm going to use a lot of it. A lot of this stuff is going to fall off during the cooking process or while I'm while I'm moving around. This has also been loved. It's got a nice glistening to it. It's been rubbed down with olive oil on both sides, front and back. So that's just going to help this salt and pepper stick just a little bit better. You can see how well that's sticking. I'm not using my gloved hand and my clean hand very well at all. And I'm going to use this. I'm going to get every bit of that. I'm really going to get it into the fat. When this fat renders down, it's going to carry a lot of that flavor into the meat as well. So we're going to pick it up off of the board there, and we're just going to rub that in. You can see with that olive oil on there how well that stuff sticks. And you can see I used a lot. Like I said, this is a cup of seasoning, and I used a lot, but I also lost a lot on the cutting board and things like that. So we've got a nice coating, nice even coating of this all over our back ham here, all over the underneath side. If you missed any spots, come back and get those. You can gather some of this stuff up off of the cutting board as well. So the next thing we're going to do is get this thing on the grill. Okay, so you can see there we got a fair amount of smoke rolling. I'm going to step across the camera here, get our hog, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the fat side up, so the bone side is down. What I'm also going to do, this right here is the thickest section of the hog, so I'm going to put that, or of the hind quarter, so I'm going to put that right in the middle, and I'm going to put the thickest section over here with the most fat on it, pointed right toward the heat. I want that to get hottest. I want this over here to not heat up quite as much. So this is going to get quite a bit of heat on it where this is not going to. That'll help that fat render down and help this side get a little bit more juicy. And it also keep this side over here from losing too much of its fat, rendering down too far, and actually ending up being tough and not tasting quite as good. So we're going to turn this thing loose here. Basically going to close the lid. I'm going to close my lid here, and I'm going to close my vents and let a little bit of smoke out. Later on in the night, I'll come back out. I'll put some fresh wood on it. I'll move that wood around to get it smoking, and then in the morning, after this thing has hit about 165, 170 degrees, starts getting a good bark on it, I'm going to use the Texas Crutch, and I'm going to get the aluminum foil out and wrap this thing up in aluminum foil. Okay guys, so it's about 6 o'clock in the morning. This thing has been on for about 8 hours now, and I'm going to show you real quick what I'm looking for whenever I start to wrap it and why I'm wrapping it. What I'm looking for is a good bark on the outside. Once I get that good bark, I'm going to take the aluminum foil and wrap it up. And the aluminum foil is basically going to keep all the juices in. They call this the Texas Crutch because it's kind of a way of, a lot of the pit masters out there consider this cheating. They don't consider they think that you should wrap up a piece of meat, and most of the time I don't. If I'm doing a brisket or something else, if I'm doing anything else, I don't wrap it up. But the only other thing that I do wrap up other than this is ribs. I wrap up ribs, but I wrap this up because it's wild hog and there's not a lot of fat in it. This meat, compared to a pen raised pig or market raised pig, is got 50% less fat on it or more. So I've tried different methods. I've tried putting bacon on it and let the bacon soak down into it and stuff like that, and it just really didn't work as good as wrapping it with aluminum foil. Now, one other thing that I forgot to mention last night was I also put a water bowl in here, and that keeps moisture in it. So I forgot to mention that last night. I actually forgot to put it on there. It had to come out. When I came out to put wood on it at 2 o'clock this morning, I remembered and put the water bowl in there, and I may have got carried away with the salt and pepper. So you guys use the salt and pepper at your discretion. I like it to have a good bark, a good coating of salt and pepper, but I may even put a little bit more extra on there for me. So we'll crack this thing open here and show you what it looks like. cooking time on this is going to be about 12 to 16 hours. For some reason, this actual this piece of pork actually cooked in right at 12 hours. And you can see the bark up here is split, and it's got a good crust on it. The temperature that I was trying to reach was 199 degrees. So now when I start cutting it, or 200 degrees, it got to 199, which is close enough. So now when I start cutting this thing, you'll see it is just completely fall apart tender. It's got a good bark on the outside of it. It's got a good smoke ring to it, and it's got a really good texture to the meat. So this is how you want your wild hog to look in the end. We're gonna have to get this thing in the house and get it away from these flies, but I want to do this out here so you guys could see, just kind of what this thing looked like at the end. That salt and pepper rub on this thing is going to be fantastic. It's going to taste great. It's cooked well, and you can turn this into pulled pork sandwiches. You can slice it up as it is, just like this, and you can turn it into just individual slices. This is the way that I cook all my wild hogs. Slow cooking it like this is the way to go, and this right here, with the limited amount of fat that it has in it, wrapping it up and keeping it moist will bring out that good flavor, and in the end you'll have something that is absolutely great tasting, and it's really going to impress the hell out of all your friends. So try this recipe out. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you cook your wild hog and your meat. For more product reviews, how-to videos, check us out at Ike's Outdoors. Follow us on social media under Ike's Outdoors as well. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share these videos.